coming to you live from the MediaPlex in downtown Windsor. This is a presentation of St. Clair College Journalism.
Good evening, I'm Zachary Balog, and you are watching MediaPlex News Now. In our top story, the newest COVID-19 vaccine, Novavax, has been brought to Health Canada for regulatory approval. Novavax is the first protein-based vaccine based on Phase 3 data. It has been said that the vaccine is roughly 90% effective overall and should be in production by the end of the year. Crime Stoppers is one of our community partners, and each week they join us to bring us up to date on what the community can do to play their part. Constable Sarah Werstein reports.
The Windsor Police Service is requesting the public's assistance in relation to a death investigation. On Thursday, October 28th at approximately 6:30 a.m., Windsor Police Patrol members attended a residential building located in the 3400 block of Peter Street for a report of a deceased adult male located within the building. Through investigation, the death was believed to be suspicious in nature. The Major Crime Unit is actively investigating and seeking any information in relation to the incident. Investigators are urging anyone with video surveillance in the 3400 block of Peter Street to check their footage for possible evidence. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Windsor Police Service Major Crime Unit or Crime Stoppers anonymously at 519-258-TIPS or online at catchcrooks.com. I'm Police Coordinator Sarah Werstein.
It must be an election year. Ontario's minimum wage will see some changes soon. Gracie Lowe's reports.
Good news for workers. Minimum wage is increasing again and sooner than some may have expected. Minimum wage in Ontario is currently $14.35 per hour, but as of next year, it will increase about 5% to be $15 an hour. Sources told CTV News that minimum wage is set to continue to rise around every October, even after the change of $15 per hour. Premier Doug Ford is set to make the official announcement about the pay increase sometime today, and the change will come into effect on January 1st, 2022. For MediaPlex News, I'm Gracie Lowe's.
We heard earlier about what's changing with minimum wage, but how much has it changed since 2018? Ravishan Wajemane reports.
Workers of Ontario rejoice. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says the minimum wage will go up to $15. The raise will be effective from January 1st next year. Last month, the wage went up from 10 cents, from $14.25 to $14.35. These increases are governed by the Making Ontario Open for Business Act, passed in 2018. The law makes exceptions to the minimum wage. For example, the minimum wage for students is $13.50 and the minimum wage for liquor servers is $12.55. The dollar amount to be increased is determined by observing changes in the Consumer Price Index. Between the period of September 2021 and 2020, the Consumer Price Index has increased by 4.4%. On October 1st, 2017, Ontario saw the highest wage hike in a decade when it went up from $11 to $14, a 20% increase. For MediaPlex News, I'm Ravishan Vijayman.
How much do Canadians spend on Halloween? It might be more than you think. Isabella Spatafor has the story.
Halloween was last week, and the numbers are in. How much did you actually spend? According to a budget estimate by HelloSafe.ca, Canadians were said to spend just under $70 in 2021. Retired hydraulic technician Tony Tiberia takes Halloween decorating to the next level.
To put the stuff out, it will take about a week and a half or so. But then to do the final touch, it takes a couple more days to make sure that everything works properly. And you go from there.
Tiberius said he switched all his lights to LED. This will save him money throughout the season.
No, probably it's 4 or 5. They're brand new. There's few other that kind of reworked them, upgraded, so they look different. So you can say they're new ones too, really. Yeah.
To get the most out of each decoration, Tiberia replaced the buttons in most of his props to motion sensors and added new things to older items to spice them up. Tiberius said he waits till the end of the month when stores reduce the prices of decorations and buys them at a reduced price. However, he said his newest decoration, Sally, was bought this month for around $300. According to HelloSafe, $385 million worth of candy will be sold in Canada this year in October alone. That is a 28% increase from last year. From MediaPlex News, I'm Isabella Spadafora.
Terry O'Reilly is a Canadian broadcast producer and personality. He is well known as host of the Under the Influence, which alone has received nearly 30 million podcast downloads. He joined us via Teams in the MediaPlex, and we asked him about the future of media in Canada.
But, I mean, when you look at social media, which is the big change, which, I mean, in the bulk of my career, there was no social media. I mean, I did not have those channels at my disposal. So I think in some ways it's the most exciting time to be in communications because you have all these additional channels, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, all of that, Twitter. To me, they're just channels. To me, the question is, what are you putting in those channels? Like, what is the creativity you're putting in those channels? And most of those channels are, and you know only too well, they're places to have conversations. They're hard to sell in those spaces. People don't really love a lot of sell in those spaces. So if you look at the social media for Under the Influence, for example, you'll notice that we are constantly talking to our listeners, constantly. Then when it comes time for me to sell a book, I can sell the book because my feed is not just selling, it's mostly talking. So when it comes time to sell, people are willing to listen to my sell. But 98% of the time, they're giving me story ideas, they're giving me episode ideas, they're disagreeing with what I said, they're agreeing with what I said, but we really have a really great back and forth. And I think brands have to learn that it is about a conversation. I think that's what brands are still struggling with. They can't quite shake off the one-way conversation that communication has been for 100 years. They're still trying to get used to the fact that it's a real two-way now. And I think that's just going to increase in the future. It's just going to be even more. And I think the good thing about social media and the internet and the digital realm is companies have to walk the walk now, because it's pretty easy for a couple of clicks of a mouse, you can get right behind a company and see what they're really thinking and what they're really doing. So I think it's forced companies to be better.
The We Spark think tank was held recently in Windsor. Jasper Cha reports.
Once every 2 months, the We Spark Health Institute will host its online think tank events. During the events, there are 3 presenters who come out to show their research projects for upcoming years. Lisa Porter, the director of the We Spark Health Institute, says that think tanks events are to help us stay current on what's going on with research projects.
Today, our think tanks are to stay current. So this is the purpose of the beginning part, learn a little bit about what's going on in our area. And I'm going to invite Ingrid to come on soon to tell you just a snapshot of grants that are upcoming, to network and learn more about people that are in our research ecosystem, to bring different backgrounds together so that we can think big and come out with some really great outcomes, and to take the individual researchers that are being supported today to the next level.
To learn more about the We Spark think tank events or other workshops, more can be found on www.wesparkhealth.com. For MediaPlex News, I'm Jasper Cha.
In Kingsville, a new pickleball court is opening up. What's pickleball? Ken Pastashin has the answer.
If you're in the neighborhood of the Kingsville Arena Complex, stop by and take a look at their outdoor pickleball court. It's the new home for the 100-plus member Kingsville Pickleball Incorporated Club. Pickleball is a fast-growing recreational activity, which can also be a competitive sport with tournament play. The game has elements of badminton, ping pong, and played in an area a quarter the size of the tennis court. There are quite a few experienced and friendly pickleballers willing to teach anyone who wants to learn the game. Jules Kay is one of the founding members of Kingsville Pickleball.
Meeting new people, the camaraderie, the sport. I'm 70 years old now, so just being able to get out and run around the court like an 18-year-old, that's perfect.
Mr. Kay was kind enough to invite me to a game of pickleball. Here's what you need to play.
Paddle, wiffle ball, and a court. And believe me, it's not as easy as it looks.
Being a couch potato for much of the pandemic, I also stumbled during many of my rallies. Pickleball is a great way to lose those COVID-19 pounds. Next season, Kingsville Pickleball is planning to grow their membership. See you then. From the town of Kingsville, I'm Ken Pastushin for MediaPlex News Now.
If you think print is dead, think again. Ravishan Vajemane tells us more.
A book is a book is a book. Despite the rise of e-books and audiobooks, the physical book is still alive and kicking in Windsor. Thanks to pulp-loving Windsorites, the family-owned second-hand bookstore in Ottawa Street, Juniper Books, celebrated its 15th anniversary this year. Owner Roger Werdeman says the COVID-19 lockdowns inspired a whole new demographic to frequent his store. Now the majority of his clientele are so-called digital natives, Windsorites between the ages of 20 and 30.
Now it's mostly people under 40 who come in here. I'm fairly confident the actual book will continue to thrive. The feel of a book, the smell of a book, the context it gives you, the immediacy of it, the durability of it. It's a perfect product to me.
According to BookNet Canada, print books saw a 40% drop in sales in 2020 when retail stores closed down in March. However, the number recovered starting May. In the period between May and July, physical book sales grew by 15% compared to the same period in the previous year. For MediaPlex News, I'm Ravishan Vijaymanna.
Disney is for everyone, and as Mariana Yanekovic reports, even for those who are visually impaired.
Some say childhood is the best time in our lives. No worries, no problems, no fears. Just us and our friends, both real and imaginary, rolling around in a world of fantasy, flying high in the sky, diving deep into the ocean, climbing mountains in our minds. But for some people, their imagination is their reality.
Cartoons were really inaccessible to me as a kid because they were so visual. I couldn't identify with them at all because there was an awful lot happening in the cartoons that was not expressed through dialogue.
Rebecca Blevoigt was born blind. She was 5 when she first realized that not being able to see wasn't something everyone dealt with.
We had just had a visit from the principal of the School for the Blind that I would be attending, and I think it was that visit that made me start to think, I wonder, and I started to realize that I couldn't see out of my eyes.
Rebecca is one of the owners of Tactile Vision Graphics in Windsor, a business that prints materials in braille. She and her husband Emmanuel have signed a 3-year licensing agreement with Disney to produce at least 15 creative coloring books with Disney characters. Disney books in braille had never been produced in Disney's 90-year history. Emmanuel came up with the idea.
We had just come back to Canada and he started saying, you know, our coloring books would be great for if we had Disney characters. And my immediate reaction was, well, oh gosh, you know, imagine the red tape you have to go through to get that.
Blind and visually impaired will finally be able to see Disney classics like Mickey Mouse, Bambi, 101 Dalmatian, Goofy, and many more. The process of producing books consists of taking the Disney art and adapting it in a tactile format that will make sense to blind people reading it. Rebecca believes books with Disney characters will open a window to a completely new world.
If I knew that there were Braille coloring books, if the first Braille coloring books that I ever got were Disney characters, that would be very cool. I think as a kid I would have found that extremely neat, you know, to be able to bring that and show the other children and be able to color.
According to the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, there are 500,000 Canadians with significant visual impairment. Almost 200,000 of them reside in Ontario.
The number of requests we've gotten to let them know when the books are available from adults are even more than the number of kids. So it's because we didn't grow up with this stuff either. So yeah, it's a huge lot of people that are going to be impacted by this.
Emmanuel designs graphics in Braille for the purpose of Braille readers. One of his favorite pieces of art that he created is the periodic table of elements. Although making coloring books with Disney characters fulfills him and makes him happy, Emmanuel says it's a long process since it needs to be done very precisely.
It's slow work, slow process. It's too slow for me, but I want everything last week, so I want everything yesterday, so I just have to be patient.
Emmanuel remembers the first time he revealed one of their coloring books to a child. It was with a little girl who was blind.
The little girl was right in front of me, and she was just like this. She had never touched a coloring book with her fingers. What do you think it is? It's a house. Yeah, you're right, that's a house. How do you know it's a house? With windows. Yeah, you're right. It was the first time she was actually touching her own idea of a house. Her mom was just like crying for me.
Seeing how blue the sky looks on a bright sunny day, the simplicity of nature's beauty, or the vibrant color of a freshly bloomed flower, so many of us take sight for granted. In their modest office, their second home, Rebecca and Emmanuel don't work alone. They have their biggest supporter always by their side, Carrie, Rebecca's seeing-eye dog and loving companion. Carrie doesn't know what preconception is, but Rebecca's father says it's something Rebecca faced with since she was a child.
The biggest challenge in raising Rebecca, I think it was more related to how other people dealt with her. Everybody wanted to help her, and because of her independence, she wanted to do it herself. So it was very difficult in some ways to tell people, let her do it.
I mean, there are things that are much easier to do when you can see. Just about everything's easier to do when you can see. But I think a larger obstacle than blindness is probably the societal perceptions of what blind people are capable of. That continues to be a battle that I have to fight with just about everyone I meet. There's all sorts of societal impressions that are made before I even say a word.
It's really funny because when Rebecca was a young girl, and even into her teenage years, I thought that this girl's gonna make her mark because she was so inventive, and of course she's met Emmanuel, who is a very creative young man, and between the two of them, they've come up with this phenomenal idea, and they'll do well.
Rebecca decided to embrace her destiny from the moment she became aware of it. Today, she is brave, confident, happy, and determined to bring Disney characters in lives of blind and visually impaired, especially the young ones, and take them on a journey in which they have never been before.
The most important thing, after everything and before everything, is to be true to yourself. Whatever society throws at you, whatever other expectations people have of you, listen to your inner voice and do what's in your heart.
In this ever-changing world of technology, Caleb Coulter is here to tell us what's new.
Windsor is one of the many cities across Canada receiving funding from the COVID-19 Resilience Stream. This fund, with over $3 billion available, will assist municipalities in updating and improving existing city and community buildings. Improvements to existing buildings could be as drastic as new central air systems, or as minor as retrofitting doors to have touchless sensors. Windsor City Hall, the Adventure Bay Aquatic Center, and even the Windsor City Transport Terminal will all be receiving improvements. Miranda Karen, a student at St. Clair College, says touchless upgrades can be a big deal for some people.
I use the public transit system in Windsor all the time. I have a skin condition, so when doors are automatic and I have to use hand sanitizer, I tend to have an allergic reaction. So I think making the change to automatic doors in all municipal buildings is a very good step for people like me.
The Windsor Transit Terminal is one of the many municipal buildings that will be benefiting from the COVID-19 Resilience Stream Fund. Upgrades will include touchless doors, washrooms, and many other features. The process of improving several city buildings has already begun. More changes are set to begin soon. From MediaPlex News, I'm Caleb Coulter.
Tanks, planes, ships, and more. Canadian toy enthusiasts are coming together for an upcoming show. Ravishan Wajemane reports.
Attention toy soldiers, tanks, and planes. This Saturday, Windsor's model builders got to showcase their craft at the 6th Annual Aviation Model Show. Held at the Canadian Aviation Museum, the competition was open to anyone from anywhere. On display were hundreds of finely detailed, historically accurate miniatures of military tanks, planes and ships. Canadian Aviation Model Club President Jerry Taylor says, model building is more than a hobby. It is a way Canadians honor the great military heritage of their country.
And we try to do a demonstration every week, or every month rather. So if someone new to the hobby doesn't know how to do decals, or how to put glass in properly without getting glue all over it, this is the type of things we do.
The model displays were in the hangar of the museum, among the preserved planes of the World War II era. These include the famed Bad Penny bomber, which helped Dutch people under Nazi occupation by dropping food instead of bombs. For MediaPlex News, I'm Ravishan Vijayamanne.
Current conditions this evening is sunny and 7 degrees Celsius. And now your 3-day forecast. Wednesday, it will be a high of 8 with increasing cloudiness. Thursday, a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 9. And Friday, a mix of sun and cloud and a high of 10. One of Cher's biggest hits was If I Could Turn Back Time, and now you can, Saturday night. Clocks will go back 1 hour, so make sure you turn them back before you go to bed. Do you ever wonder what happens here at the MediaPlex? Let's take a peek behind the scenes.
This goes to Twitter.
This just in from Queen's Park.
That's the header. Thank you for joining us. We are proud to announce
3, 2, 1, cue.
Standing by with the details of today's announcement is MediaPlex news reporter Jessica Tatton.
Ready, live, and take.
Thanks, Albert. Here are the details from today's announcement.
Jack Miner is a local hero and icon. Ken Pastishin explains.
During the weekend, the town of Kingsville celebrated their annual Migration Festival, and the Jack Miner Bird Sanctuary also held events on their property, a historical site which protected countless migrating geese and ducks for over 100 years. Miner, known as Wild Goose Jack, is the father of conservation in North America. The sanctuary is open to visitors from dawn to dusk. Normally, the museum is open only by appointment. During the festival, it is open to everyone.
I am here at the Jack Miner Museum. Guided tours are being offered throughout the bird sanctuary during the Migration Festival.
One guide took a group to Ty Cobb Field, who's good friends with Jack Miner. Lots of children's activities like a trout pond, haystack maze, and lawn tractor rides took place during the festival. The sanctuary depends entirely on donations and is run by 3 part-time and 1 full-time staff members.
We're doing everything we can to put Jack Miners back on the map and a place everybody wants to be.
For MediaPlex News Now, I'm Ken Pastushin from the Jack Miner Bird Sanctuary.
Did you know that even the MediaPlex has a history in this city? Here's my report. The St. Clair College MediaPlex is home to future journalists, public relations, and travel experts. But how much do you know about 275 Victoria Avenue? Well, I'll tell you in today's Did You Know? According to St. Clair College, before the MediaPlex became the building it is today, it was a Salvation Army store. However, it closed its doors and was left empty until the college bought it for $1 in 2010. The school then opened that September and has been operating at this location ever since. The MediaPlex is also home to several productions such as The Examiner, MediaPlex News Now, and Friday Live. You can also check out themediaplex.ca for more products. The more you know. For MediaPlex News, I'm Zachary Balog. And finally tonight, here is a look at the MediaPlex from the people who study and work here.
Journalism enables people to be well informed. It's documenting history. It's an extraordinary way for people to be connected with their community.
What happens in the world affects us. What happens in our community affects us. What happens in the province affects us. And we get to be the eyes and ears and tell the stories. There are many stories that need to be told, and those things add value to our life.
It's neat to know that so many people are relying on me. It makes you strive for perfection, or makes you strive for accuracy.
The journalism program here at St. Clair College is a convergence journalism program. Convergence means the merging together of print, radio, and television, and the web, and putting all different stories into 3 or 4 different platforms.
I can go out now and I can understand how to write a print. I know how to do social media. I can shoot a video. So you start to trust yourself and to use your journalistic skills.
In 21st century newsrooms, journalists have to be able to do it all.
We ask every one of our reporters to tell stories in multiple ways.
There's a different style of writing for print than there is for radio, than there is for television. And it's really important that the information gets out that is true to those platforms.
We are one of the few, if not the only, program that is actually taking students to a live broadcast and giving them that opportunity and that experience.
I want to be a journalist because I think I like to listen other stories.
午间好，这里是媒体综合新闻节目，我是谭一丹，欢迎收看。
I find that the students that come out of St. Clair College are already at or above where some of our broadcast employees have been over the last several years.
I feel that I made the greatest decision I could by choosing this program because I have learned so much, and I think that I can only grow from here.
I would hands down recommend the program to someone considering it. I would recommend it to someone that's not even considering it. They teach you such a vast array of different skills, different platforms, different things that you could really apply to so many different careers.
Based on literally hundreds of interns I've seen over the years, St. Clair students are better prepared to go into the work environment in media than most students coming out of colleges and universities across North America.
I think it's that very comprehensive curriculum that we have that creates converged journalists that sets this journalism school apart.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Zachary Balog, and you have been watching MediaPlex News Now.
MediaPlex News Now is a production of the St. Clair College Journalism Program.